Good morning. This is the Board of Directors meeting for the Maryland Environmental Service. It is 9:31 and we are going to go ahead and get started. We do have a quorum and are expecting one more board member to the best of our knowledge. So we're going to start with the Inspire Awards. Ms. Dolinar.
I'm very pleased to announce the Inspire Green, Mickey Newport, and Alo Watosin Bello. This team is recognized for their customer service excellence, construction management, and inspection support services for the Cox Creek Dredge Material Containment Facility Plus 60 dike raising and expansion. Completion of this very large construction project was critical to the Maryland Port Administration's ongoing dredging capacity needs for the channels and the berths serving the Port of Baltimore. This $19.6 million construction contract raised the dikes at Cox Creek from elevation plus 36 to plus 60 and laterally expanded into the upland areas, creating an additional 8.5 million cubic yards of capacity over around 1,300 days. The team excelled at providing design and construction support service, construction oversight, technical support, inspection services, and subcontractor management. The team provided extensive technical analysis and work to support resolution of claims and change orders that led to hundreds of thousands of savings for our client. In addition to keeping costs within budget, the team excelled at keeping the schedule progressing, which was of very significant importance for the facility to be able to accommodate inflows that have construction. The construction management framework that the team developed for this project set a high standard that's been duplicated and integrated in other EDR construction projects with the client's confidence in us, and they will be working on the next phase, which is the plus 80 dike raising. So thank you all. You did an excellent job and you helped the port meet their dredge material management and goals. So thank you very much.
Never been here before, you gotta come up, you gotta get your certificate, take a picture in the frame behind the flags and the chair and your manager director, myself. Youngest first.
Oh, wouldn't that be Dave?
Oh, yeah, we move this out of the way.
All right. So, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, you can go wherever you want. Yeah, take that. It's gonna roll around. Oh, you didn't know that.
Over. Congratulations.
One picture.
No, you're gonna go up. Sorry.
Marty, you got it.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You can reach that handy down there. Yeah. Down right there.
My hands are full.
With everybody. We work next time.
One more chance.
We're gonna do a double one. Sure.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
Ms. Dolinar, you're up again.
Thank you. I'm very happy to announce the Inspire Award for Bill Travis Rowe, Juanita David, John L., Danny Hayes, Jason Doty, Manning Budd, James Smith, and Justin Risette. In January, this team of TESS and EDR employees completed an emergency pipe repair for the University of Maryland Center for Environmental Sciences at their Horn Point Laboratory. Completion of this project was critical to UMPCs due to the concern that the pipe was deteriorated so much that it was eroding the substrate supporting their seawater lines, and failure was imminent. The seawater system is critical to the Horn Point oyster hatchery, and the repairs to the discharge line could only be performed during the brief winter shutdown of the system. UMPCs called on MES to do a temporary repair of the discharge pipe to prevent extended shutdown. The temporary repair was attempted, but the pipe was too deteriorated, so the entire 144 feet discharge pipe required replacement. Travis, John, Danny, and Jason performed a complicated trenching operation that included locating and hand digging around two 12-inch and two 18-inch seawater lines. Manning and James acted very quickly to successfully perform a repair to one of the 8-inch seawater lines, and Bill, Juanita, and Justin's provided critical project support to keep the project going, including timely equipment, rentals, and materials. Everything had to be done very quickly in order to get the hatchery operations going. This project is an excellent example of different MES groups from multiple project locations coming together using their various areas of expertise to successfully help another state agency. This project was very difficult and was performed during temperatures that were consistently below freezing, if you all remember what January is like. And they had limited resources. This wasn't their project. It wasn't even our client that we currently had. Everybody just jumped in. And the client was happy, and thank you all. You did a great job. Really appreciate it.
Same here.
Yeah.
Come up this way.
It started opening when I walked. Bill is not there. Danny. James. Oh, there is Justin.
I already know we're gonna get yelled at.
When, and we have to be standing forward, and people are standing a little bit more to the side, and then we may have to have some people, just stand around the meeting.
Yeah.
Warms his legs.
I'm not going. Much warmer. Everybody got a nice cup of coffee.
But I think we got it.
Just with me for one more. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you.
Go.
Congratulations
Yeah.
again to all of our award winners. Thank you very much, and thank you for your service. What's in your packets are the minutes from March 27th, 2025. If everybody has had a chance to read them, now is the time to offer up any amendments or comments. And hearing none, we can assume they are approved by consent. Dr. Glass, Executive Director's report. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Next slide. I'm gonna have to go toggle back between readers and, well, this is easy, $3.50 for parking. Right.
Any more details on that?
Oh, $3.50. Yeah, this is a busy month. Great. Let me see. Highlight of my engagement was probably this one was the Morgan State Smarter Center, which is a transportation center. I sit on their advisory board. They had a nice conference where they brought all of their partner universities. I spent the half day at Morgan State there and MDOT them, so it was just great to support that. Oh, and a visit to College of Southern Maryland and driving down to La Plata at 4 o'clock in the afternoon from here was a surprise for, if you deviate your commuting routes in this region and you don't know really, and you map it non-rush hour, you can be surprised at how long it takes to get someplace. So, but I did make it, and we have had interns from the College of Southern Maryland. They were appreciative. They were having an etiquette night where they wanted, people in industry, people that are working to engage with their, AA students, associate's degree students, and they were going through eating dinner. They had an etiquette coach that was there, and we had time to interact with the students just to help them work on engagement with one-on-one conversations with potential employers. So it was a very robust night, and I was thankful to be invited by their college president. And then on the private entities, continued discussions with Honeywell on potential PFAS treatment. It's a ways to go. Their technology is not meant for biosolids treatment. It's really meant for hazardous waste that's more a lower viscosity, right? So more water-based. But we're entertaining it, and they're a good partner in other ways with our organization. So that's probably the highlight of that. Oh, and SAS, but unfortunately, I just saw that a lot of flood money is leaving. But hopefully, SAS, they have the capability to put monitoring and use analytics from their software. If you have water sensors to really evaluate improvements in infrastructure for stormwater management in flooding areas, sunny day flooding areas. So we're hopefully going to work with them in the future, but the FEMA money and BRIC is at risk these days. Next slide. So 2 months ago, we kicked off this agency-wide effort, really pulling together folks from procurement and finance and one representative of users. And last month, I know in my notes, we had decided to focus on using the purchase card for purchases orders for purchases under $1,000. Mr. Patel might have the actual number, but so far at FY25, we've had 7,860 purchase orders issued as of 3/17. 4,513 were under $1,000. And 2,538 were under $5,000. So if we were to move to $2,500, Mr. Patel had the exact number, but I did not write it down in that meeting. And so I didn't have it with my notes and I didn't ask him about it, but somewhere between 4,500 and 7,000, we will eliminate 80%. We could eliminate about an 80% reduction in the number of purchase orders. So I have all this written down, but I can just describe, when someone uses our purchase card, uses a credit card to make a purchase, there is no requisition request. There is no purchase administrator in procurement to evaluate said request. And if we use, I'm not going to go there, but if we have long-standing relationships with companies like Grainger, and we piggyback on state contracts, it's really straightforward that we are getting a good price. And we'll work on centralized purchasing at a future date. But that's a lot of software improvement. But the main point is we reduce a lot of activity internally in order to process purchases for our clients and for ourselves. So we actually had a robust discussion, and we want to move to focusing on $2,500 being the limit for what most purchases are done on the purchase card. And we also mentioned research shows that credit cards are best for small and medium purchases. Really, the research showed 5,000. We won't go there. Credit card fraud is common, but I was actually just toggling on YouTube. And you know, when you use a purchase card, you are actually, layman's terms, not a financial person, using the bank's money. When you start a purchase order process and when you're engaging, you're actually more directly using our money. Just like if you use your debit card over a credit card, you are instantly using your money. So when fraud occurs, it is your money that's lost. I don't know if anyone has had a family member that had fraud on their bank account from a debit card, but if the debit card money is gone from your bank account, it's gone, and you have to fight to get it back. If the credit card fraud occurs, it's actually the bank's money, and they have a more robust system to protect from that fraud. So it actually could aid us in some of the fraud we've had to deal with. Ms. Patel can talk about it or not, but we've had check fraud and other things happening from other people even getting MES checks. So with the bank involved, it could also lead to a lot more efficiency in that manner. So by May 1st, all of our documents from the pit will be complete. And we're working on 3 levels of documents. A level 1 where it's a very straightforward schematic, a level 2 where it's more instructional and step-by-step bullets, and a level 3 that is where the board is engaged, where it will be a policy. And there's also a level 3 for procedures that are meant for procurement person, right? But the level 3 policies is what we really look forward to bringing to the audit committee. So review with legal and with the executive staff will start on May 1st. We intend to have their reviews done by May 8th, presented to the audit committee, so they have 2 weeks to go over those policy suggestions, a procurement policy and a purchase card policy, so that then that can guide us as the board has approved this direction. I really want to thank the members of the pit. I'll give them more kudos later, but it's been very productive. A lot of miscommunication that was occurring between procurement and finance, I believe, Ms. Patel can also confirm this or not, but I believe we've worked out a lot of that cross-department conflict, and they're working very smoothly together now between Ms. Condra and Ms. Patel. But there's a line where expense reports and supplier invoice requests, more details later, they were pushed to the side because they are not really utilized by both procurement and finance. They are simply just a finance function. But in order to have robust training for all types of expenditure, we are going to keep meeting, even though we're demonstrably going to be done in the next couple of weeks. We're going to keep meeting through the end of the fiscal year so that we can expense reports. That's how it's used for lots of varied ways. And the supplier invoice request is another way that for more straightforward engagements for ACH, for automatic clearinghouse payments, we utilize those. But finance clears it, not procurement. It's not an actual buying. Anyway, so we are going to go through training materials because pedagogy-wise, there's been a lot of miscommunication, disconnect between a new hire that is engaged in how we spend money at an early point, having really robust, continuous training so that they not only know the mechanisms and methods behind it, but also how we engage with all our systems, whether it's the P card, whether it's forms that we have in different locations. So we're going to work on that as an educational tool. And we have made the decision that we will, even when this work is demonstrably done on a quarterly basis, maybe we'll rotate some of the people involved, but on a quarterly basis, we will have this, we'll call it the procurement group, but it's really going to be a finance and procurement. Let's make sure we're always working on continuous improvement like we are in other realms. And this all came out of a KPI, just so if everyone remembers, this all came out of not paying our vendors at over a 90% level in 30. So really thankful for all of the PIT members. I'll give them more kudos when we finish. We're not done yet. But just wanted to update the board on that progress. So any questions on any of that? Okay.
I'll just add one thing,
Go ahead, Mr. Patel.
that we get a rebate on our credit card purchases. So right now, we are in the 25,000 range because we spend about $200,000 a month. So that rebate will probably triple, when we start using the procurement card.
Next slide. Thank you. So happy to announce, did I write that number down? I think I had the number. So out of over 200, I know I can safely say out of over 200 applicants for our internship program, we have successfully, that should be 12, right? Yeah, that's 12. So we have successfully hired 12 already. And we're counting our one OAG in our 12. But they did that on their own. And we're really excited for them to start. Everyone, the OAG intern starts on May 20th, but we have coordinated the starting date and the onboarding of all 12 interns for June 2nd. So we will again have a robust, 2-month and a half, 2-month engagement. And there are other departments that are still evaluating and culling. So we may have our number 12 go up. And for, everyone gets spamish type emails and weird outreach and sometimes. So I received one from a program that I knew nothing about called the Yale Scholars Early Leadership Initiative Program. And maybe because it was Yale, and Yale was the only institution I did not get accepted into for college, but I decided to throw a flyer and say, is this, and I actually passed it to Merkel. Merkel must be online, but not here. I passed it to Merkel because I filled it out really quickly, the application, and then I passed it to Merkel. I'm too busy for this, but I know you have access to all our details. Just put our deets in, right? And we got it. So we got 2 Yale scholars. I must have read it because it was free, right? If it's free, to me, it's good. So they actually pay all the expenses for the scholars, right? Wow. So they actually will work here. It did take the capacity from the executive office of accepting 2 interns. So we did not accept separate interns this year, but we get 2 interns, one of whom is from Colorado. Unfortunately, it's the School of Mines, not Boulder. And the other is from Brown University. And they will start with our interns. They're not listed in our 12. So that takes us to 14 for young people engaging with us. And because they both expressed interest in engineering projects, I will reach out to the managing directors to give them operational things if they don't want an executive office just sitting fuss and looking at us. And finally, the rotational fellowship idea. If I remember correctly, again, I don't know why I didn't type. Oh, I did type it down. Well, I'm not reading my notes. So we had 219 applicants for the environmental specialist rotational fellow, 30 of which staff identified as outstanding. Outstanding means better than Dr. Glass's grades in college. And so we have selected a young person. Let me read some of her attributes. So the environmental specialist is graduating from Georgetown University. Go Hoyas. She is majoring in environmental biology with a minor in education. She is intern for, get this, the U.S. State Department, the U.S. EPA, and the World Wildlife Fund in her early short undergraduate career. She received researching from the National Science Foundation for undergraduate research. She got an undergraduate research grant. She also interned for Senator Hassan. I looked up where he worked, but I don't remember. And entering her final semester in college, she had a 4.0 GPA. So hopefully, we will do right by this young talent. And if she graduates summa cum laude, and she will have a long, robust career here in environmental science as a specialist. And then the second, the engineering intern. Engineering is harder, so the GPA isn't as high, 3.72, still very robust GPA in engineering. She's held 3 roles in by the way, University of Maryland, go Terps. She's currently working at an HVAC company in Columbia and has been there for 3 years since she graduated. So even though this rotational fellowship, when it was born, was really a thought of fresh out of college, we did receive a lot of applicants from early career that thought that it would be a great opportunity to rotate through our divisions. And so she's already been working for 3 years, started as estimating engineer and then is now an applications engineer, was a teaching fellow in thermodynamics, one of the hardest courses I took in college. And she was a teaching aide for that. So finally, I'll read my writing. We are honored that these 2 young professionals have chosen to experience MES in a truly unique way, rotating through the 6 operating and administrative groups, including Mr. Patel and Mr. Sharma. They will get administrative knowledge and the executive office. We intend to give them a really well-rounded experience over the course of 2 years. And I really would like to thank, do defer, delegate, delete. After this was launched and when we had all the applicants, I did delegate this to Miss Carrie Walsh. Hopefully she's watching, and I want to thank her for shepherding through the process, reaching out to everyone to help with selection. She did form 2 selection committees for each, one for engineering, one for environmental specialists, and really called through some great talent. And then the challenge is that if when they rotate through a group, if the group has an opening, and now we're getting very low vacancy, but if there's a vacancy, I hope that it's like a matchmaking, but the managing directors don't have to take the risk. We've identified incredible talent, and when they have an opening, if said talent also likes them, then they can, I don't swipe left, swipe right, whatever. They can figure out how they're. Anyway, that's the joke for common things. I've been in for a very long time. I just hear about it. So anyway, but I really am excited for it. Thanks to Tim Ford for his support. He knows that inside joke. But yeah, this is really, we got a lot of talent coming here for the summer with us, and it's I'm sure that everyone will welcome them and we'll give them as a great experience, an intentional great experience. Next slide. Sorry for that. Any questions on those 2 programs? Board members, if you're welcome to join and participate in anything, let us know. I will be starting up site visits, and they will be going on site visits. It's one of my long-term projects. I'm getting ahead of myself to get back into site visits it's hard those 6 months, winter and fall and winter, but now it's time to go see some wastewater treatment plants and visit some dredge material in the facilities. And so these young folks will get exposure to that as well. Anyway, no questions? Next slide. Birthday, a great t-shirt. Much better than our activated sludge brown. Mr. Ford told his age, Mr. Ford didn't have a shirt, but he got a copy of a shirt, and there you see him on the far left.
I worked it out.
He worked it out. Mr. Page sitting there in the middle, if you remember Mr. Page, the number of the ladies in front. Anyway, great day yesterday. Lots of events. Next slide. Trash collection along our road. Lots of events all over the state. Repotting plants. I guess, what's that? Is that a drone demonstration? The drone demonstration on the lower right. And
Bird watching.
Bird watching. Is that Tim Carey? Bird watching. Tim Carey leading our board watching, and always sniffing the sludge, right? Was that sniffing biosolids on the bottom? And I don't know what's the upper right. The upper right bird feeder.
Oh,
Bird feeder packing. Right. Any more pictures?
Yeah.
That's a lot of trash over in the far left.
No.
What was that? Anyway, somebody come. So a great Earth Day, great event. Good vibes all around the agency. Everyone loves the nice baby blue. Maybe Merkel should always stick with the color palette and that we've been instructed to. Ice water. Nothing from Tess. We're sticking a lot.
It's in the first picture.
First picture. Okay.
Yeah, these were just whatever was available as of yesterday. So
Yeah, it was-
photos are rolling in and there. I don't know why the mouse is not working.
All right. So work portion of the summer internship program, fellowship program is stricken and is done. The research environmental specialists, so bachelor's degree recipients for the OITs, that's gone through the HR committee and will be presented today. And then I guess from the last four, I bolded it, so let me just read it. So the new this month as a tracking project for me, some of them I have assigned to people, some of them I do not. But really, in the near future, would like to have a PMP course in-house. Would love to have someone that's trained the trainer. I don't, if you do defer, delegate, delete, no one picks it up. If I have to pick it up, I'll go get a certification in PMP and teach the course myself. But hopefully I can delegate this to someone. But that's something that we really should have. We should really have project management. We have people that are certified. I haven't done a search. I haven't talked to the managing directors about it. I did it executive office. Anyway, we will have an AI lunch and learn for the organization. That's being prepared for August. A quarterly HR policy training for managers and supervisors is going to be a goal in FY26. A lot of the books that I have recommended that we have and we share, and I'm getting even suggestions from staff. We're working on how we can join with a library system and pay. I'm not an online reader, but a lot of people are on their devices. So we're working on, this is definitely in comms, working on how we get the books, pay our site license fee for 100 reads or whatever, 100 downloads, so that people that's straight out of our FY25 survey that a staff member suggested that we, and then someone else said today suggested to me before, but it was in the survey. So let's do that so that people can have access. We've been purchasing for some sites, but that gets a little bit expensive. And the other new one is peer-reviewed research, deep dive into departments, and site visits. So including a lot of the new staff in that. Everything else is in progress. I did write a lengthy email to our one remaining state partner that does not have an agreement with us. And we're done with the legislative session. Our House Budget Chair was pleased with our results from the prior year. And really a thanks to the Office of the Attorney General and executing, I don't know the total of agreements, but definitely 10 other agencies and getting that all done in one fiscal year per our OLA repeat audit finding. So I did tell the one remaining agency, we are expecting to have our Office of Legislative auditors visit again sometime in the next 12 months. We're due, and we will express that we've done everything we can, and it's out of our control if the partner isn't executing the agreement. So, but hopefully that'll move forward, and subtle pressure will add to us executing that. And that should be the end of my report.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Glass.
Happy to answer any questions.
No.
Thank you, ma'am.
Cricket.
Perfect.
Okay. Someone we haven't heard from in a little while, Mr. Tosi with a legislative update. Good morning.
Good morning. Everybody's doing well. Oh, thanks. So we just concluded the 2025 General Assembly session. I've data points up on the screen. Budget got done. The total amount of bills that passed and were introduced were roughly the same year after year, give or take 5% or so. We monitored somewhat less amount of bills this year. Last year we did about 140 bills. This year was only about 96. We wrote to the committees on 13 items, which is more than what we usually write, and participated in bill activity. And the General Assembly sends requests for us for comments and fiscal analysis, and we received 30 requests this year, which is more than last year. Next slide. So I'm just going to go through a couple of the major initiatives that passed that are most pertinent to MES. The first bill was a private sponsor bill, House Bill 34, Senate Bill 315, deals with the Maryland Environmental Service Board of Directors. And this bill would replace the state treasurer with the secretary of planning or the secretary's designee if she or in the future they choose to appoint a designee. Keep on having to go back and forth between my readers too. In addition to that, there will be 2 members of the General Assembly who will be serving as ex officio non-voting members. This was requested by the General Assembly, and we agreed with that. I think it's a pretty easy thing to agree to. There will have to be likely bylaw changes because there was a separation of powers issue that came up, and I don't think that the General Assembly non-voting members can participate in closed sessions, nor do I think participate in HR committee meetings. So we're just going to have to probably take a look at that and update the bylaws to reflect those changes. Any questions on that? Next slide.
No.
The Budget Reconciliation and Financing Act. So this is a large document, 140 or 50 pages. Generally, the bill, for those that are not familiar with it, reconciles the state budget, balances the state budget. This is really the document where they move money around. We had a role in the BRFA this year, but it was really a non-substantive role for the purposes of the BRFA, but it has an impact on us. In 2011, the General Assembly, through the 2011 BRFA, capped our project contingency funds at certain amounts. We have 3 of them in statute, and the board actually created one a few years ago, which has expired. So we're now back to 3. 2 of those funds, the caps were raised because at the time, the amounts that were set were reflective of the costs for those types of projects. We're now, whatever we are, 14 years removed from that. And we requested that we update those caps for not only reflecting today's costs as a result of inflation and significant amounts of inflation over the last several years, but also future costs. So there are 3 funds: the Eastern Correctional Institution Turbine Project Contingency Fund. The fund cap was set at 1.5 million. It is now at 5 million. The state reimbursable project contingency fund, the fund cap was set at 1 million, and it is now set at 3 million. And these are effective when the budget is signed. I think it's June 1. So they will be in effect for our upcoming budget cycle. I will say during negotiations with the General Assembly and with the Department of Budget Management that we agreed not to attempt to fully fund those funds yet. But there's a question that came up on whether or not we can exceed the 1.5 million, and if we can justify the need, then I could go and attempt to justify the need to DB legislature. But those are some important items that were done through the BRFA. And then there will likely have to also be another action by the board with these project contingency funds. In addition to being set in statute, there are also board resolutions that authorize these funds to exist. And so those board resolutions are probably going to have to be updated as well. So you're going to see those probably in the May or June slide. So every year we go before the General Assembly. We have our operating and capital budget hearings. The operating budget hearings are somewhat less drama-filled. The capital budget is really where we have a lot of serious issues that come up. We work with our state partners, state clients, mainly in the wastewater space on capital projects. And I'm happy to report that even though the General Assembly had some challenging budget issues this year, every request that we made was fully funded. And so they're all listed here. I'm not going to go through every one of them right now, but I will say if you have any questions about these projects, Matt is here to talk about those because I'm not the subject matter expert. Are there any questions about these projects? If not, we can go to the next slide. Procurement reform. The governor sponsored a pretty significant procurement reform act. There, 56 pages of text. I'm not going to go through all that today. You're welcome. I will point out a few items that I think are relevant to MES, and I will also say that the fiscal and policy note for the bill hasn't even been updated yet to reflect the final changes that were made as a result of a conference committee report, which is what happens when the Senate and House have a disagreement on how to proceed with a particular bill. So I will go over a couple of items here. All contracts, 1 million or less, are to be reserved for the small business reserve program. Previously, that was set a few years ago at $500,000. So the cap was raised to, or not cap, but the threshold was raised to 1 million. Veteran-owned small business preference program. This really pertains to procurements by the Department of Veterans and Military Families and the military department. However, it also says, or any unit acting on their behalf. So it creates a veteran small business preference program. So if we have work with those two entities, then we are going to be looking to make sure that those requirements are fulfilled. The small procurement threshold. So there have been some significant reforms to procurement over the past several years under the prior administration and now obviously under this administration. The prior procurement reform raised the threshold on small procurements from $50,000 to $100,000. And procurement regs kind of divide those into some categories. But under this bill, so that was done previously. Under this bill, if a primary procurement unit determines that a unit does not adhere to the established small procurement regulations, the procurement unit the primary procurement unit can limit or revoke the unit's ability to conduct small procurements. Now, I believe MES is exempt from this statute. However, I think it's probably going to be important for us to make sure that we're meeting these, even though we are exempt from the statute. So I point that out as a cautionary tale. And MBE participation, yeah. The bill repeals several provisions related to altering an MBE participation schedule and replaces that with steps that identify and correct a deficiency. So after the execution, so what the bill fixed was what's going to be law as of, I think, June 1 or July 1. Actually, no, it's October 1. Sorry. After the execution of a contract that is started with an MBE goal, the MBE schedule cannot be amended unless the request is approved by the head of the unit. That's the way it is structured now. Under the new method, the new law will allow the schedule to be amended after the contract execution. If it's in the best interest of the state, if it meets these three thresholds, if it's in the best interest of the state, if it's approved by the head of the procurement unit, and the contract is amended. So there's a little bit of, I think, a give there with regard to trying to get units to meet MBE requirements. I think next slide. This one has two. It's the only one that. Oh, I deleted one? Okay. There are a couple of other items. I'm sorry, that was my fault. There are a couple of other items. I'll go over one of them right now. The SBR, Small Business Reserve Program payment requirement previously was at 30 days. So there's a requirement to make payment for small business SBR payments within 30 days. That was reduced down to 15 days.
15?
15 days.
Oh, wow.
So it's a significant change, small but mighty, right? And then there are two there are two additional slides, two additional bills. The family program, FAMLI, this is a program that was established in 2022 and has had multiple extensions for implementation over the years. And this year was no change from that pattern. I lost some of my notes here. So the program is now, the contributions are now going to be implemented. It delays the contributions requirement until January 1, 2027. And then the benefits are, so they need the money to be able to pay benefits. So they have extended the benefits payments to somewhere between 6 months and I think it's
1 year.
1 year. Yeah, by at least 6 months. I think it's 6 months to 1 year. So, and that's going to be determined, I guess, on the solvency of the fund, how much benefits are being requested, and then how much money is in the fund. But eventually, you know, like the unemployment insurance program, it evens out, and then there's, you know, enough funding to proceed. And then the last one is a bill that probably won't impact MES too much, but it's a significant move for the state. The state in 2023 passed a bill requiring a needs assessment and requiring the Maryland Department of the Environment to establish the framework for an extended producer responsibility program, which basically puts the financial burden on producers of packaging to create more responsible, environmentally friendly packaging products for goods and services that are sold in the state. This bill this year implemented the program. So there will be a completely new financial and framework for you know, the McCormicks of the world, et cetera, to pay into a program that basically reimburses local governments for the cost of collection, the cost of processing recycled materials. And that's the main point. I mean, there are obviously sustainability attached to the EPR program, but one of the main objectives is to provide local governments with some financial help with collection and processing of recycled materials. So there was a bill that dealt with bottle deposits, which would impact MES, that did not pass, and we do expect it to come back in future sessions. There's a movement to help push that forward. That would probably be a pretty big game changer for us in terms of our operations of recycling facilities. So we're continuing the conversation there. But that one other item that I think I forgot to mention during the MES Board of Directors discussion was that we will have 2 new board members coming on board in on July 1. So they're going to go through, they went through the confirmation process this year, and they will go through the commissioning process now. And then as of July 1, the July meeting, really, they will be added to the board, and then the 2 members who are leaving will depart. But that concludes my presentation, and happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you.
Crickets
for
again.
Comprehensive analysis.
Yeah.
We have a new business report. We have 1 slide of accepted proposals. To take a moment and review them, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you. Mr. Patel is here with the financial report. Welcome, Mr. Patel.
Good morning. So this is the first chart for billable labor. They all look at the same level, but the number on the top says that there's a little difference between them. So the fiscal year 24 actual was 30.6 million, and fiscal year 25 actual is 31.2 million. So we have 1.8% increase from the fiscal year 24 billable labor. The green bar is the fiscal year 25 budget, which is 31.8 million. So we are still short of fiscal year 25 budget as of this time, which is almost 2% less than the budgeted billable labor. There's not a major concern there. I'll explain in detail on the second slide. So here is the actual fiscal year 24, 25, and budget. Wastewater fiscal year 25 is 2.56% lower than 24, which is a concern because we are now 6.3% lower than the budget. Environmental dredging is doing well, and looks like they are 5.14%, and the budget was at 4% increase in billable labor. Same thing, environmental operations doing good, and technical and environmental services is lower than fiscal year 24. Water, wastewater, some of the senior employees left, and there was a vacancy to fill out those senior employees, and of course now we have only from this 3 months, but actually we have only 2 months. We are almost end of the April, so very likely it may not be caught up, but it will get a little better. Technical and environmental services, some of our clients hired our contract employees as a permanent employees. And there's another thing going on is that some of the grants are coming slow or frozen. So the TES has a lot of grant-based projects. So that's why. So we are 1.82% higher than 24 and 2% lower than the budget. As I say, it's not a major concern because as of April, I don't have the numbers, but I see on a daily basis that there's no major cuts in our major projects, for the counties and all that. So that is a steady work. Plus, it is a moderate increase, but the new projects are also coming steadily. So it looks like, even if we don't meet the budget, I think the numbers will get better than a 1.82% year over year. Okay, next slide, please. So here is the fiscal year 25 versus 24, 9 months. As you can see here, the first labor sales is 1.82%. Now this is as of March, previous year versus this year. And the overhead, once the billable labor does not increase by the budgeted amount, all others are affected. The couple of things to note here is overhead expenses, for fiscal year 24, 10.4 million, fiscal year 25, 10.7 million. So if you are considering the inflation and all that, is a very small increase year over year on the overhead expenses. And you will see that, it has a major impact on our net earnings. That will be in the last slide. So if you look at the revenues here, the last line is cut off here, but the revenues for fiscal year 24 was 146 million. Fiscal year 25 is 152 million, almost 5.8 million increase in revenue. So revenues, about 75% will be passed to our private contractors, but billable labor, as I say, is still 1.82% higher than the last year, which is good news. And the last one. Based on projected 4% increase of billable labor over last year, our budget for the full year was 43.8 million, almost $43.9 million. If you look at the actual March 2025 of 31.1 million, full year estimate is 42.6 million, which is 1.2 million less than the budgeted. Now, as I mentioned before, it was budgeted at 4% increase, so unless we meet the 4% increase, that variance gonna stay. That affects the overhead recovery. So overhead recovery, we're gonna be 904,000 less than the budgeted. But if you look at the overhead expense, when we started this budget process, about April last year, we budgeted all the overhead expenses at a 5% inflation increase. And because of the vacancies, the turnover, our full year estimate of fiscal year 2025 overhead expense is $14.9 million, or almost $15 million, which is a savings of $2.6 million from the budgeted overhead expense. And that will give us the overhead variance, which is added to the net earnings of almost $1.8 million. So that's the biggest contributor, where we're gonna have the recovery of 3.7 million and the net increase over the budget amount of 1.7 million. All other factors are like fringe, we do not count because fringe expenses vary. The working capital, the project variances. The only other thing is that the other, which includes the used oil and the interest income and some of the fixed price projects. We had budgeted 1.1 million and we are estimating now 1.5 million. As of March 2025, the other revenues are already 1.4 million, 300,000 more than the budget. So we're gonna be like at a 1.5 million. So when we started, the full year budget was net increase or net earnings was 4.4 million. And right now we have 5.4 million, and mainly because of the savings in the overhead expenses. And our full year estimate is 6.7 million. So when we budget in the beginning of the year, our target is usually 5 million in the net earnings. If any of those factors change, the bottom line will be affected. So right now we are projecting at 6.7 million year-end, and which is close to what we had last year too. So we even though there's a less billable labor, the net results gonna be just like the last year, which is very good. It's almost 2 million. Any questions on this? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the Human Resources Report with Ms. Jones.
Ms. Jones, before you start, if I could make a comment and make an introduction. First, I'd like to thank Ms. Jones for serving acting HR chief for a good bit of time. Probably, it was longer for her than it was for me. But I see a lot of stress has been relieved in her life, and I'd like to welcome Dr. Felicia Gross, our new HR chief, resources chief. Dr. Gross had possibly, no, I won't say, I will not put the condition. She had the best slide deck presentation that I have ever seen on a subject in an interview process. It was very well done, and she is an added asset to the organization, and I'd like to robustly welcome her to the MES team.
Welcome.
And next month she'll do the presentation, but she still got her assistant chief taking care of things.
We look forward to it. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so for this month's Human Resources Report, as you can see, we have a vacancy rate currently of 2.62% with 22 open vacancies. Next slide is year over year, see the rate of change year over year, and move on to the next slide, please. Here are our recruitment efforts for the month of May. We have several outlined throughout the month, and we continue to research for more and add for the upcoming summer. All I have to report today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Mr. Witt, we do have an HR committee report. Are you ready?
I am. So we held a HR committee meeting earlier this month, and we reviewed several policies and are bringing them to the full board for approval. Ms. Jones, do you want to review those policies? To go over
Not
them?
quite yet.
Sure, I can review the policies. So the first policy that was reviewed was the scheduled hours, which is policy 1.1 under hiring and employment. And the changes for that policy were updated policy statement, as well as some updated procedure items. The next policy that was reviewed was policy 3.02 under leave and time off for annual leave. And those updates were throughout the document, but specifically policy clarifications and procedural items. The next policy that was reviewed was the sick and safe policy, policy 3.22, again, under leave and time off. That included updates to definitions of identifying regular employee, eligible employees, as well as procedural updates and use updates. The next policy was policy 4.03 under separation for abandonment of employment. There were procedure updates made to this document throughout. Our next policy was policy 5.02, which was attendance standards and lateness under attendance and absenteeism. There were some updates on responsibilities in that document, as well as updates on notices and procedural items. The next policy was policy 6.05 under the discipline appeal, the appeal of disciplinary suspension. There were some definition updates, as well as title changes and updated definitions again. So title changes specific to executive director. Policy 8.03 is our under training and development is the apprenticeship policy for operator and training programs. There were some updated definitions. This policy had some changes throughout, which added in the allowing college credit, the OIT program, the OIT pending designation as well. And then the final policy that was reviewed was policy 10.04 under wage and salary for overtime and compensatory time accrual and use. There were some definition updates, policy updates, statement updates, and procedural updates throughout the policy.
So, Ms. Heller, these were all reviewed by the HR committee, and I'm bringing them to you on behalf of the board. We recommend their approval.
Can either take them policy by policy or as a unit. Is there a preference?
I think it would be okay to, as a group.
Is there a motion to approve the policy changes?
So moved.
Policy updates. Thank you. Dean Johnson has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approval, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Witt.
Thank you. And something else we reviewed were the career ladder updates. I can't tell. Is Mr. Lipinski in the room?
Yes.
Would you mind going over this briefly for everyone?
I can do that, sir. With the career ladder update, what happened was we found out from the board of the certification board that they provide 1 year of experience for a year of college experience, or a year of college. So what happened was we updated the career ladder to show that 1 year of experience could be a college. So that's what, if you look at the highlighted in red documents that are the sentences on each one of the various stages and steps, that just gives that opportunity for replacing 1 year of 1 year of experience with 1 year of college. That's it on that. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, go back. I didn't realize, I thought, so with the the OIT career ladder, basically what happened was there was two changes there. The one, adding the college class or the 1 year of college to give them 1 year of experience that they're able to go ahead and go from OIT to OIT 1 to OIT 2 automatically with 1 year of experience. And then the other one, what happens is we get into a situation where we end up with a OIT third year really well as far as the plan operations and that, and just can't pass the exam. So one of the things we decided with this OIT pending is we would give them another license renewal for their temporary, which is 3 years, for them to get back on track, pass the exam. And in that same vein, what we're doing is we're looking at every time they take their exam, we look at what the weaknesses were in those exams. And then I have a coordinator that takes a look at that and focuses their efforts on their shortcomings in their exam work. So coming up, I have 8 people going to the training class at Mount St. Mary's, and all 8 of them will be taking their exams. And I mandated that they'll have to pass. We'll see how that goes. Really well. We'll see how that all plays out. I think this, again, this training class, it's regimented towards getting them in a situation when they take the exam. So I'm wishing them all luck. That's all.
Ms. Heller, again, these also passed through the HR committee unanimously, and we wanted to bring them to the board for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Witt. Is there a motion for approval of the changes to the career ladder structure? Thank you, Dr. Dodgen. There was a non-verbal move. Okay. Is there a second?
So moved.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand and saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. And I believe you have one more item, Mr. Witt?
Yes, so just reviewing the timeline for the executive director's evaluation form. The evaluation surveys should be distributed to all board members today. I ask that by May 29th, the completed evaluation forms are emailed back to me. By June 2nd, I will combine all those responses and distribute to all board members for review. And sometime the week of June 2nd to June 6th, the full board needs to meet to discuss this evaluation. I wanted to propose June 5th at 9 a.m. to see if that would work for everyone. And Ms. Fuller can send out that date and time, and if it doesn't work for someone, just let us know and we'll reschedule that. On June 12th, At 1 p.m., the HR committee is going to meet and consider a salary recommendation based upon the evaluation. And on June 26th, the recommendation will be taken to the full board during executive session for vote. And after that meeting, we will meet with Dr. Glass to discuss the evaluation. Any
Thank you, Mr.
questions regarding this?
Mr. Witt.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Condra, procurement, and we have a heavy agenda for procurement. So procurement item number 1.
So this is for the water and wastewater group for the operations division. And this is for the project aluminum sulfide statewide. It was awarded to Tricon Chemical Corporation, the amount of $409,293. And this is 0%. This procurement has been designated as a small business reserve procurement. So
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you. A second. Ms.
Second.
Jo- Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
No?
Hearing none, all those in favor of approval, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Number 2.
this is for the environmental dredging and restoration. And this is for the project algae analysis lab services at the Popular Island, Hart Miller Island, Cox Creek, Masonville, and other MP. And it's awarded to Cyano, also known as Green Water Laboratory, for the amount of $225,800, and the MBE goal is 0%.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? I have one question. Why is this one a sole source?
They're the only ones that capable of handling volume like that. We need to exclude people from.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Number 3.
So this is for the environmental dredging and restoration group again, and for the project Popular Island Ecosystem Restoration Project, for Popular Island, of course, Masonville, Cox Creek, and Hart Miller Island dredge material containment facilities, sorry. And it's awarded to Tri-State Bird Rescue and Research Incorporated for the amount of $225,505. MBE goal is 0%.
Okay, is there a motion for approval?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the ayes have it. Procurement item number 4, and I will be recusing myself from this vote.
So this is for the group environmental operations, and the project is for resurfacing of River and Holly roads at the Caroline County, Maryland. It's awarded to David A. Bremel Incorporated for the amount of $392,151, and the MBE goal set is 12%.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second? Thank you. Again, I am recusing myself from this vote. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Number 5.
This is for the Environmental Operations Group, for their solid vision for the project Prince George County Materials Recovery Facility. And it was awarded to Carter Machinery Company Incorporated for the amount of $397,460. And this is a one-time purchase, and the MBE goal set is 0%.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? And the ayes have it. We are on number 6.
So this is for the Environmental Operations Group and for their Solid Waste Division for their project Prince George's County MRF and Montgomery County Recycling Center. And it was awarded to South Atlantic Marine Service Incorporated for the amount of $978. It's the MBE goal is 0% and there's no SBR. There were no certified MBE firms that provided 11 and 12 gauge baling wires.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Just you got a comment on only one. Only have one company to approach this, when it seems to me, I'm not in that area, the 11th and 12th grade wire. Is that a material that's hard to get? That's why we only got one company to do it, or is it the volume that we're asking for? Anybody have any sense as to why that was the case?
That's an external factor that we can control from a competitive bid. So when we put the bid out there, it all depends on who responds to it. I did have my team reach out to, usually they reach out to them about why they haven't, why they didn't bid or submit a bid. If they, based on anyone who comes to the pre-bid. So if no one else comes to the pre-bid, there's no one that we can actually reach out to and ask them why they don't. And I think this company was the only one that attended the pre-bid meeting.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 7.
So this is for the Environmental Dredging and Restoration Group, and this is for their project Colgate Creek Dredging and Innovative Reuse Project, and it was awarded to McLean Contracting Company for the amount of $17,121,000. The MBE goal set for this is 10,000. And again, this was brought for pre-solicitation to the board in February. So the reason why it's here again is because the amount was 14,300,000, so it increased, so we brought it back to the board.
Okay, and to clarify, the MBE goal is 10%?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What did I say?
10,000.
10,000, oh, sorry. I'm like, there's so much.
10%. Full clarification. Is there a motion for approval?
I have a question. I'm sorry, I have a question. On the MBE goal, is there a reason it was not higher, the 10%? Because this is like a multi-million-dollar contract.
I, go ahead.
Typically, our dredging projects have a lower MBE. It's hard to get MBE, and with this higher element with the geotubes and filling those, there's more cost and less opportunities for MBE.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
I just have a question as to why was the increase from 14 to 17? Was it because the cost of things went up? Or was it something that was identified in the first estimate that was added to the second?
So they did not, I guess the engineering side, estimate was low. We had it lower, be higher based on what was coming in from the, then go ahead to add to that.
Not a little more. We have a very limited time constraint because we want to get that material in there, dried and out of there so that we can start taking the borrow material that's underneath and get that out of there. So we only allow 200 days that you've done. Get all the material dry and get them out of there. So that's adding to the cost. And then the polymer that we specified, because of our NIPD's permit, we can only use certain polymers, and it's not one that they're familiar with or is most effective than other ones.
Thank you.
I know he knows what NICTI's is, but can you tell everyone else?
Our discharge permit. Sorry.
I'm learning. I can teach too.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions before we take a vote? Hearing none. All those in favor of approval, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Number 8.
So this is for the Environmental Operations Group for the project Montgomery County Grinding Lot. And it was awarded to Aggregate Crushers LLC, for the amount of $1,275,950. This is a one-time equipment purchase, and the MBE goal is set at 0%.
For motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of approval, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. 2/3 of the way finished. Number 9.
So this is for the Environmental Operations Group. This is a renewal for the project Montgomery County Yard Trim and Compost Facility Supply Temporary General Labor. And the contractor is Contractors Incorporated. And this is the first renewal, and it's for the amount of $1,268,780. The revised total contract amount is $2,537,560. The MBE participation goal that was set was 15.97. Their participation to date is 30%.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the ayes have it. Number 10.
This is for the environmental again, and this is for their project, Prince George's County Organic Composting Facility. It was awarded to Aggregate Screens and Crushers LLC for the amount of $484,000 $589. And again, this is a one-time purchase, so no MBE.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? And hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 11.
Yes, this is for the Environmental Operations Group. This is a change order for their project ground station, road, sanitary landfill, area C infill and infrastructure improvements. The contractor is Stearns, Conrad and Schmidt, Consultant Engineers Incorporated. This is number 8 change order for the amount of $280,506.95. This revised total contract amount to $24,907,007.78. The participation, the goal set was 20%, and the participation to date is 17.53.
Okay, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments?
Second.
Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And last but not least, Ms. Condra, number 12.
This is for the environmental for their solid waste for their project Hartford County Solid Waste Management Services. It was awarded to Sustainable Generation for the amount of $314,700, and the MBE goal set is 0%.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I do have one question. The sole source reason for this is Mr. Ford.
Due to the location of the posting operation. For certain specifications that the county wanted. That included the use of proprietary floor cover systems, which are a positive air system, meaning air is pushed on out from treat the air, they're charging air. Covers are unique in that they odor control. That was important for them based on the location of the one thing they closed it down. Anything else, or nuisance conditions. So, based on specifications, we certainly have experience. Or business conditions, so it's based on specifications.
Okay. And this is the only vendor that pushes instead of pulls? Well, interesting.
And Madam Chair?
Yes.
And this is an expansion of service for food waste composting, or is this going to be? Change. So it's just going to still be consolidated, and there's a possibility. Okay. Interest account. So we weren't able to use food. We didn't want to attempt food scrap composting. We can do so with this.
Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. We also have 3 pages of procurement notifications, which are contracts, purchase orders, and amendments and change orders between the amounts of $25,000 and $200,000. If you have any questions on any of those items, feel free to ask.
Well,
Thank you, Ms. Condra.
yeah.
Do have a legal report, Ms. Carroll?
Just very briefly, this is my last reminder that the ethics disclosures are due by April 30th, which is next Wednesday. And a reminder, please, that the MES Act does require board members to provide copies of your disclosures through the board, Ms. Fuller. So, and we have a number of people who have not done that. If you have questions about how to do the disclosure or whether you're on the list and need to provide your disclosure to Ms. Fuller, please you're welcome to contact me or to contact Ms. Fuller. And that's all I have for the open session. We will have further discussions in the closed session.
Okay, thank you. We are going to be going into closed session. After the closed session, we are not going to adjourn in the closed session. We are going to come out of the closed session for one other item to be considered. And I would like to go ahead, just in case we lose any of our millions of listeners and watchers during the closed session, I would like to just make the announcement that our next meeting is on Thursday, May 29th at 9:30, and we have a audit committee meeting on May 22nd at 9:30. And in addition, I do want to announce that after our June meeting, we will be having a thank you luncheon for the members that will not be joining us in July. So we will be able to hopefully have as many in-person attendees as possible for that meeting.
Including Ms. Keeley and State Treasurer, if I can add that. If you would
Absolutely.
join us, we would be really humbled for you to join us.
Well, in that case, I will definitely be. You're being humble.
Okay, thank you. We are going to be going into closed session, and we are citing the exception that is listed under General Provisions, Article 3-305B. Consult with counsel to obtain legal advice and to consult with staff consultants of other individuals about pending or potential litigation. Again, we will be coming back into open session to complete the meeting. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. And let's take a 5 or 10 minute break, and we will rejoin the closed session at that time.
Those board members, I and Mr. Powers will move you into a breakout room.
All in favor?
Good statement, Leon.
Like everyone has come back.
I didn't lose anyone. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mr.
1, 2.
Oh, I lost Mr. Wales. There he is. Okay. Yes.
Mr. Watts isn't showing, well, there he is. Okay.
Well, he's here, but he's on the phone, so.
Okay,
You're good.
got it. All right, everyone is now back in open session.
Okay, and are we live streamed?
Yes.
Official, okay. It is 11:49 and we are back in open session, and I do believe that we have a presentation by Mr. Lipinski.
Very good, thank you. So what I'm going to do right now is I have some couple pages of discussion to talk about the facility, some of the shortcomings, some of the issues that we're dealing with, and just basically talk through the whole thing. So the whole history on this the Southern Hills area, it started back in 2015 where South Star came in, which is the developer, made major representations as to what they were going to do. March 23rd, 2015, agreed and did a resolution. It's 15-03-1R, where we agreed to move forward as the controlling authority. As that controlling authority, there was 3 agreements. 2 of those agreements were with the county to how they would accept us as the controlling authority. The other 2 was worked with the execution of how the facility was to be built and how anything related to the homeowners would be taken care of. As we went through and South Star unfortunately failed to deliver on a lot of the agreed upon plans and commitments that they made to MES. Some of the highlights, I'll just highlight a few of them. A robust SCADA system that they were to provide for us that we could monitor and control the facility remotely. There was some discussions as far as the screening for the facility. They promised us a 2mm, still delivered the 3. Influent flow meter, so we knew what was coming into the plant to see how things were working. A 7-year Smith & Lovelace process warranty. A lifting device that would allow us to remove the membrane module out and do repairs on that. And right now, any of the membrane work that we've done has been done in actually in the tank where confined space entries. This facility was built and they negated to follow the NFPA standards, which when you have the headworks of a facility, we always separate the headworks because of the potential for explosion and that. So what happened is this was the facility, the headworks is inside. None of the fixtures have been explosion proof. There was supposed to be, because of it being inside, there's also supposed to be 12 air changes per hour. They provided 5. And as part of that, a lot of this that has happened, there's a lot of corrosion. The metal building is starting to corrode. The facility, actually, the tank is corroded a lot. And then even the mechanisms, the controls and stuff like that have corroded. We ran the plant up until 2024 in violation because South Star did not provide a drain field operations and maintenance manual. And they actually gave us one in 2024, but we don't have any idea whether it was actually submitted to the MDE for approval. And then South Star failed to. One of the things is, as a controlling authority, we had to have the ability to shut off the water. There was to be a system on the cutoff for the water source, and also a cutoff for the well and the pumps, so that it wouldn't back up in the basements and that. So none of that stuff was put together. The plant reliability, there was a lot of issues that we've experienced so far. The fine screen, the functionality has not been proper since the beginning. We actually did have some overflows related to that. The electrical monitoring system that we got did not work consistently, and what we ended up doing is installing floats to give us alarms. And the plant had some serious membrane issues. Back in 2023, we ended up with high levels of total suspended solids. We notified the developer, and they refused to bring somebody out to look at it. And somebody would have been the plant representative. In fall 2023, MES got the manufacturer to come out and do the review. We ended up blanking off several of the membranes that were compromised. And then back in 2024, the levels were starting to rise in July, and we ended up taking the due diligence route and shutting down the facility and starting with a pump and haul. Influent quality has been really all over the place. It's all these are low flow systems. They have a E1 pump at each house that it fills up, then it pumps to the plant. So what ends up happening is a lot of times the influent that's coming in becomes septic. During the summers, we noticed that there was a rise in use in the prior years that we had, but in 2024, the use went non-typically high, and during that same time frame, 16 to 24 homes were using irrigation systems on their homes, and they used their softeners to remove the iron, not to stain their hardscapes. So what happens is the softeners would regenerate every 2,700 gallons, and they were putting that much water out that the regeneration, a couple of the homeowners we talked to, regeneration was on a continued basis. So that regen kept coming to the plant, increasing what we got. So a lot of the situations that we had as we started to look at this, the high flows, we started to pull composite samples, and the things we were looking at is total dissolved solids, chlorides, and looking at total dissolved solids. Normally, a medium strength wastewater is 500 milligrams per liter, and we were seeing anywhere from 1,400 to 10,000, with an average of about 5,000 plus for the total dissolved solids. The facility guaranteed that they could manage 1,500, I believe, is the number on that. And then the chlorides were also a medium strength. For wastewater chloride was 50. Ours were coming back at 657 to 600, and with an average of 300,000 or 3,000 milligrams per liter. In the inspection we did in 2023 with the membranes, we found a hole in the tank, and we weren't really sure what the story was there. And one of the things is, as we looked at some of these chloride numbers, the sodium chloride numbers, all of a sudden it starts to make sense what's causing the degradation of the still tank. E1 pumps, it's kind of interesting because we took and we looked at all the E1 pumps, pulled everything, and some of the grinder wheels, which are metal, they showed like pocking and stuff like that. It almost looked as though it was a corrosion kind of thing instead of there. We don't have any full details on that, but that's where we're at. So the thing of it is the agreement with the developer, or was it, I think the county, was amended that we had to allow the backwash for the water softener to go in there. And, we were guaranteed that it would work from the contractor or the manufacturer and the developer. However, I don't think anybody ever realized that this was going to be that kind of quantity coming in. Influent quantity, again, during the summer months, we always saw the flow increase. As we started to get into this past summer, where everybody was doing their watering their grass, it became very, very high. One of the things is, and this goes along with the county. The county came to me, a homeowner come in and said they wanted to go ahead and put seasonal bathrooms and kitchens outside by their pools. And I talked to the county health department, said, look, we really shouldn't be doing some of this stuff. County approved the project anyway. I mean, they've taken us from a perspective. They basically have made it clear that we are not in charge of the capacity management. And in order for us to do we have a 6,000 gallon a day plant. That plant at 4,800 gallons per day, you have to start looking at capacity management, 80%. And they claim because they look at it as a groundwater discharge, they claim that 900 gallons per day is what's available for the houses. So they feel that they can improve anything. And they continue to kind of do the same thing. So they've also repeatedly pointed out that there's plenty of capacity. However, they also had a water appropriations permit that was only 5,160 gallons. And, we're seeing flows up in the 9,000 gallons a day. So it's kind of there's a lot of issues back and forth. Back in May of 2024, we went into the county and claimed the South Star default to the developers agreement, which actually suspended building permits from that point forward. And even now that we're doing a pump and haul, we had meetings with the Maryland Department of the Environment, and under the pumping haul, they would not allow there to be any kinds of permits issued. Homeowners obviously not happy about the permits being withheld, and we've been metering the influent from July until December, and we exceeded the 6,000 gallon capacity per day capacity 22% of the times, 37 days, and the flow exceedances ranged anywhere from 63.86 to 85.16. And during that same time frame, the average flow was 53.10, which is well above the 400 or 4,800 of forcing to look at capacity management. Effluent quality, since we started the pump and haul, and because of we ended up seeing total suspended solids again, which again signaled more than likely a breach of the membranes. The other thing that happened is there's a total dissolved solids number that's in the monitoring wells, and we found that the down gradient monitoring well was in the last two sampling events it was increased. It was around 1,000 something. It has come down to 780, but our number for the ability for those wells limitation is 500, and we haven't dosed since July. So there's some really concerning issues at that point in time. Homeowners Association, it's under the control of South Star. We compiled a homeowners contact list from the land records. 2023, we met with the Homeowners Association for an introduction, and it actually walked them through the wastewater treatment plant, which they thought was a pump station. And they were really not, they did not understand what they had. Since then, we distribute educational material. We maintain their E1, their low flow pumps. We followed up with reports giving them best practices to try to help them and help us in the same time frame, and then analyze water usage. We actually walked around to each one of the places when we found that they were all this backwash was coming through, and we saw how they separated the water out for their irrigation. We've tried to establish an email list, and we have a couple of people that email, and that's it. The homeowners, we didn't have a lot of interest in engaging with MES, and right now there's still issues that persist. I've had in the past 2 months, I've had 3 call outs where I had to go out and fix the E1 pumps with articles of clothing and grease and stuff like that stuck in pumps. So again, MES, we obviously with this community, there's 24 people to spread the cost to, and with a county model, 100% of that cost can be moved around to everyone. Next thing is plant rehabilitation. So we had several options we looked at with plant rehabilitation, and right now the big thing is we're looking at the pumping and hauling. It's the cheapest option, but it's not considered a long-term solution because in our discussions with the Maryland Department of Environment, they basically told us that your next permit requirement may say rehabilitate the plant and bring it back to specifications. So again, that's one of them. The least expensive rehab that we have right now is $1.32 million. However, that would require all the homeowners to replace their softeners with green sand filters. at a cost of $10,000 per. So, again, we don't have the jurisdiction or the ability to force that. The second option is to reconstruct the plant, to include outside headworks, some additional, equalization that's $4.495 million. But this too would require the homeowners to remove their green sand filters and move forward. The final option we had was $6.4 million, and that didn't require the softeners to be removed. However, it tagged onto the system a reverse osmosis that would clean the water. However, there would be RO reject that would have to be hauled away and moved to another place. It's also the most expensive of the options to run. And again, none of these rehabilitation options are really within the financial means of MES. And the collected seeking fund that we have at this point doesn't even provide a sufficient financial support to even start the rehabilitation. So the economic model, looking at that, Southstar, has not paid for all the operations and maintenance costs. I think it's about $220-some thousand that they're in arrears overall. The individual homeowners assessment, the determination is in the declaration of easements, covenants, and restrictions. And basically that says you take the total estimated cost to run it, the budget, you divide it by 24, you divide that, and that's what the people pay. So $282,711 was the budget for FY25. Each homeowner would be responsible for $11,799.63, or $2,944.91 per quarter. Sinking fund presently being collected is $1,800, and as you can hear, numbers I presented, that's for a 20-year life cycle. We're at 5 years, I think, of the plant actually running. So I think that 1,800 is well below what it needed to be. So where I wanted to go, it's MES, Southstar, and the county are basically in an impasse regarding the facility. We declared a default, and Southstar and the surety never chose to complete they never completed the conditions of precedent, and MES never made the final acceptance or the final inspection or the final acceptance of the facility. The commencement date depends on MES having the final acceptance. That has not happened. MES does not own the facility. MES does not hold the NPDES permit. And then MES does not have the authority to do any of the corrections because all of the current permits are under the developer, and we can't complete the grading, can't complete the building permit. We can't even complete it and get a certificate of occupancy. The designation, the county basically said that they delegated the responsibility to manage the facility to MES. However, they maintained the capacity management and are free to basically they're doing any kind of changes and stuff like that. They're handing out the permit approvals, which increase any of the capacity that we're already struggling with. Let me see here. I lost my train, and that's bad. Anyway, the facility, even if we were able to treat the current capacity, the plant has to have or treat the current influent. The plant is not of the size to manage the flow over that time. And with the way the facility is designed and the sewer plans, there would never be any more than 24 houses to share its entire. But
Thank you, Mr. Lipinski. The board, the reasons discussed, MES is no longer in a position to provide necessary construction, operation, maintenance, expansion, relocation, replacement, renovation, or repair of the Southern Hills facility. It is in MES best interest to rescind Resolution 15-03-1R and withdraw from the role as the controlling authority for Southern Hills. MES believes this is in the homeowner's best interest also, as their county will be permitted to provide services related to their wastewater system.
Okay, so assuming we move forward with the recommendations, is the first action to rescind the 2015 resolution? Or does the new resolution effectively? Okay, so if this is adopted, then that resolution is rescinded and delegation is given to Dr. Glass, et cetera, for the certification.
Yes.
Okay, so that is the action for consideration today.
Yes.
Do we
I will
have a
make
mo-
this motion.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Excellent. Are there any questions or comments for discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the ayes have it. Okay, is there any other old or new business for consideration?
No.
I don't hear any. Again, just a notice for the next meeting, Thursday, May 29th, 2025, 9:30 a.m. And there is also an audit committee meeting on Thursday, May 22nd, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There we have it. Thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy this beautiful weather. We are in the throes of spring in Maryland. So today is beautiful. Who knows about